Hey everybody, sorry for the delay getting started. Running through a few technical things with everybody, and I think we got everything all worked out. So before I bring my guests in today, I wanted to run down the usual CAF update stuff that I try to, bring up every week. But before I do, I wanted to kind of give you an update on where we're at with regards to Comic Art Live, and I'm going to kind of pimp the name Comic Art Live. Remind everybody that the show is November 14th and 15th, so it's just a little over 4 weeks away. Exhibitors are going to be able to start setting up their booths around next Wednesday, I believe, and so that gives everybody more than 2 weeks to get started. Obviously, this is our second show. First one was in May, was really successful. We had over 200 exhibitors and about 3,000 pieces of art, and pretty much everybody sold. It was a great experience for me as well, because that really kind of got me started doing these live streams and whatnot. So we're looking forward to this next one. Right now, though, we're wrapping up the programming for EluxCon, or the IX Art Show, which begins for paid attendees next Monday, and on Wednesday for anybody who wants to go see the show. That's the show that is in Reading every year. Science fiction fantasy artists, obviously their show was canceled, so they came to me and asked me if I could help them put their show together. So it's going to be a full-on online virtual show, a lot like Comic Art Live was. And I'll be definitely sharing a lot of links for that, because I've been a big supporter of their show for a very long time, and I know it's going to be successful. There's over 1,000 pieces of art already added, and I know by the time the show starts, it's probably going to be 4,000 or 5,000 pieces of art. Lots of stuff related to, along the Magic at the Gathering line, book covers, that sort of thing. Really fantastic stuff that I know a lot of people who visit CAF would appreciate. And as you can see, I'm representing Anthony's comicbookart.com. If you ever want to go check out Anthony's site, don't put the, well, here it is, the apostrophe right there. It does not belong in the URL. Anthony kind of screwed that up. But if you want to buy art, Anthony's always a good guy to buy some art from. And thank you for the t-shirt, Anthony. So with that kind of out of the way, the main stuff was, of course, last weekend was, or would have been, New York Comic Con. And a lot of art dealers had their own kind of special sales going on. Felix has done, he did one for San Diego, he did one for New York, so he had a really great week sales-wise. A lot of other dealers like Albert and Panel Page, Will Gabrielle, Kirby's Comic Art. Lots of people were doing their own art drops, and Albert and Felix did incredibly well. So we're going to talk about the art dealer sales for the week. And of course, Felix and Albert were, Felix was second, Albert was first in sales, but both had incredible volume of sales just because of the number of art drops that they did during the week. Total sales for the week for art dealers that we tracked was $390,105. Top selling piece was this Detective Comics 1000 cover wraparound by Jim Lee and Scott Williams, sold for $60,000 by Albert Moy. And another Jim Lee, Scott Williams Detective 1000 cover. This one sold for $25,000. Now, this was sold by Anthony. It's actually the complete story to Black Knight #1, published in the 1950s. The artist was Ernie Schroeder. He was prolific really he was in World War II, so he was doing most of his art after that period up until the mid-70s. This is another piece sold by Albert Moy. This is by Clay Mann. It's a Batman Catwoman issue #1 cover. These next two pieces were both sold by Will's Comic Art page. This is the cover to Avengers Annual #15. It was by Alex Saviuk and Klaus Janson with a asking price of $15,000 as well. And this last one, classic Thor 302 cover by Keith Pollard, had the asking price of $12,000 when it left Will's hands sometime last week. So the big thing there is it's always nice to kind of have something to market, for the dealers to kind of market around. And clearly that worked really well for both Albert and Felix last week. Even though Felix didn't have anything in the top area, he sold, I can't even remember what the number was, probably over 100 pieces. I know he sold probably 95% of the artwork that he dropped over the course of 4 days. So, again, and that's kind of what we're aiming for when we do Comic Art Live show, is to simply create an event for which we can all kind of appreciate, enjoy, and see all the artwork at the same time. That is a good marketing event for the dealers, great opportunity for collectors to buy and sell as well. So same kind of thing. And I see these things happening more and more often until the shows actually come back. So with that, out of the way, the auction house report. Auction houses sold pretty average, 175,000 between both eBay and Heritage last week. This first piece is by Mike Mignola, of course, still going on with his charity auctions. This is a Swamp Thing piece that sold almost for $9,000. And like I said, I think last week, Mike is well over the $300,000 mark with his charity auction since he began these last March or April. This next piece is a Spirit cover by Eisner, of course, and it sold for just under $5,000 on eBay. And the last eBay piece I'm going to feature is another Mignola piece. He's been having a lot of fun with these. He's done Tony the Tiger and whatnot. Here's Mr. Peanut, $4,250. These next three pieces are by from Heritage Auctions. A Stan Sakai Space Usagi trade paperback cover from Dark Horse, of course. 1998 was the published date. It sold for $3,360. And I think he's had the highest selling pieces the last 2 weeks with Heritage. And of course, here is a Frank Cho Ballpoint Beauties illustration from that great Kickstarter he did recently. I'm not going to show the full illustration, of course. It sold for $2,760. And last but not least is this Delirium piece by Jill Thompson. And it was a t-shirt design, and it sold for $2,400 on Heritage on Monday. So that was a pretty average week for auction houses, quite unlike the week before that, where Heritage had their big European auction, and I think the total weekly sales were somewhere around $1.7 or $8 million. So this is a much more average week between eBay and Heritage for a 7-day period. So with that, I want to give you the top 15 pieces, at least from the way I kind of look at everything. As I always tell you, it's not always the most commented or the most viewed or the most liked. I always just try to pick the 15 pieces that I think got the most attention on CAF, and at the end of the day, I think are worth noting here. So first up is a piece from Khalil Giron's gallery. It's this Black Panther and Crew #2 cover by John Cassaday. And looks like they're both trying to kick each other below the belt, but it's a beautiful cover. Khalil, I'm sure, is really happy with it. He's a big Black Panther collector. Next up is from the collection of JL. This is a Mark Silvestri Uncanny X-Men 241 page. And from the Inferno multi-crossover period, and a great page it is. And of course, Art Adams, it's long shot #5. Great panel there with Doctor Strange. Obviously, the book that really set Art on his incredible career in comics. This is a Marvel Adventures Spider-Man cover with obviously Spider-Man and Dr. Doom on it. It's by Patrick Scherberger. It's from 2001 in the collection of Paul P. And this one I just love. It's a Darwin Cook Catwoman #37 cover. And Darwin could just do no wrong. And this is a perfect example of his work. It's in the collection of AMR1. My good buddy Hans. This is Fantastic Four Annual #2 page, page 3. Of course, it's Jack Kirby and Chick Stone. And another good friend of mine here. This is Andrew Rawlis. It's Avengers #49 title page by John Buscema. I love classic Marvel panels and text like that. And of course, we'll be talking about a piece very similar to this. So this piece was based on. This is a piece by none other than J. Scott Campbell, collection of Dean Abraham. This is the Black Cat #1 cover, homage to, of course, the McFarlane cover. Now, this is in the collection of Rubin, of course, and it's Wizard Magazine 1994 gatefold cover by Grummett and Carl Kessel. And I just like this page. It's just, panel pages are great. This is a simple John Romita Jr., Jim Mooney, Amazing Spider-Man 212 page, collection of Vale DG. This is the conclusion of the Infinity Wars #6 collection of Dino Mauricio by Ron Lim and Al Milgrom. And this piece here is in the collection of Kirk Dilbeck of Three Wishes. He's also patron of art over on eBay. This is from Avengers 117, title page as well. This is Bob Brown and Mike Esposito from 1973. This is a heavy metal fact cover, of course. Well, actually, it's a portfolio piece, sorry. And it's by Simon Bisley, and it's in the collection of Eric Nilsson. And here is a piece by Clayman. It is Batgirl Futures End #1 3D cover. It's in the collection of Jim D'Amico, and love Clay's work. I think he's really underrated. Of course, he's repped by Essential Sequential. This is the Mercy #1 cover by Jay Anacleto, repped by Three Wishes, whom we just mentioned with Kirk, and it's owned by Greg Wilson. So there you have it. That's my top 15 for the week. And once again, I've seen a lot of great artwork that I've already kind of set into my bookmarks to feature for next week. So with that in mind, I want to bring in my two guests, because one definitely relates to New York Comic Con that we didn't get to have this past week, and another is a longtime friend of mine. I feel like the last time I saw him was when we were on a cruise, an ill-fated cruise together. My two guests, of course, today are Steve Borock and mighty Mike Negin. Hey guys, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I cannot complain. I'll be honest. Hey Mike, your mic is muted. There we go.
There we go. Hey, hi.
Hey, welcome, Mike.
Hey, what's going on, Steve? How's it going, Bill?
Oh, I cannot complain, guys. I cannot complain. I'll tell you, it's things are just always hectic around here since COVID, but hectic in a good way. You know, I mean, like Steve and I were talking earlier. It's like I'm always on the phone. But it's good. I mean, I'm making connections and talking with people that I've usually just pinged through email. And I don't know. I mean, I know it's a difficult time, but I've been more connected than I ever have been in the hobby, and I'm enjoying it.
That's great.
Yeah, it's not just great for the hobby. Like my friend, I think I might have told you, but my friends and I get together. My friends in New York, I'm in Dallas. We get together on the phone on Tuesday nights and we watch live music on YouTube. And we talk, we listen to music, we laugh, we have a great time. And it's something we never would have done before this.
Well,
that's true. I find myself reaching out and connecting with a lot of people that ordinarily I'd wait to see them at a show. And then, now that we don't have shows, you miss all your friends that you see on the road. So I've been finding myself too. Same thing, Zoom calls, phone calls, just connect. Yep. So it's nice.
Right. I know a lot of people say they're getting a little tired of it, but what else have we got, right? At the end of the day.
Right. You make the best of the bad situation.
Exactly. That's all that you can do.
Exactly. So, hey, we always do the whole origin story first, and I'm going to start off with Steve because I know, Steve, of course, we're friends on Facebook. I see pretty much everything you post, and I know that you feel you have the best gig in the whole world.
I do.
So I'm going to give you the floor just by, I don't care where you want to start, but because I know you're not exclusively an art collector. I mean, everybody kind of knows a little bit about your history, but kind of give us from here to here on how you got started and where you're at today.
Well, I've been a comic fanatic since I was since I can remember, which is really fantastic. Set up my first Phil Suling show in the 70s when I was like 12 years old. I was able to afford half a table. And I was selling really junk books, but just to be able to buy other books. It was great. The 70s were very, very fun in New York for the comic scene. Years later, became a large collector of comics. Helped start the first certification service, my competition. I work with CBCS. I started CGC. And because I didn't want to collect comic books anymore, I was going to collect original art. That's how I got into original art. But before that, in 1997 was when I bought my first piece of original art. It was a Starman 7 cover by Tony Harris. I love that series. I just thought it was just one of the best finite series DC ever put out. And I was walking past Scott Edder's booth, and I was with Ed Jaster from Heritage. At the time, he wasn't with Heritage. This is 97. And I saw the cover for number 7. I said, "Oh, I love that. It's so great." And he had a price tag of like $800, something we can't imagine today, right? Mm-hmm. And I asked Scott what he'd take for it. He said like $750. He wouldn't take much less. I think he was repping Harris at the time. And I said to Eddie, "Well, I don't know enough about art. I really don't want to blow that kind of money." He goes, "Wait a minute. You're going to put this on your wall. You're going to frame it. You're going to love it." He goes, "You just spent $22,000 on a comic book. Spend the $750 effing dollars on this piece and just enjoy it. You can always get out." And so my first piece of art was bought a few years before I got into original art.
Very nice.
Cool.
And that was 97. So in 99, you started CGC. And hey,
Right.
I actually found this, hopefully you don't mind my showing this. It's an early picture of you, but I'm going to show it. It's when you're at CGC because there's art in the background. Was that at the CGC offices?
Yeah, those were my two pieces. I no longer own them. I sold them, but yeah. And I had no gray hair, if you notice. The certification business has given me quite gray hairs.
I had to look close because I was like, I think that's Steve, but no, it's got to be Steve.
Much younger and dumber.
So I seem to remember that because I know that you had me down to the CGC offices probably around, I don't know, 2006, 2007. And I seem to remember that there might have been art on the wall in the grading room or something. I don't know.
No, in all the offices, I put my art everywhere.
Okay.
It was really cool. It was nice to have. You walk into work and you go down the hallways and see your art collection. It was really cool.
Very nice. So, I want to talk more about your time at Heritage. But why don't we talk a bit about let's give Mike a chance to give us his origin story as well, because I think he's kind of wearing something related to that.
That is, I got into comics at the age of like 8 or 9 years old. I was in the second grade. I couldn't read. I was in danger of getting left back. My mother went up to talk to the teacher, and the teacher was like, "You want to get the kid interested in reading? Buy him comic books. Kids love comic books." Good. So she used to get me comics, and I would read. I'd go to the corner store, or the newsstand, and I'd read them, and I'd roll them up and put them in my back pocket and throw them in the drawer. But I loved them. I really truly did. And then by the fourth grade, I was an honor student. I was reading beyond my level, and I met this kid, Mike, who's one of my best friends to this day. We started talking comics, and he's like, "Why don't we go to the comic book store this weekend?" And I was like, "There's a store just dedicated to comics?" He was like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Oh my God, you have to take me." And sure enough, his mother drove us over there, and I, it was like Shangri-La, one of these old school, the type of stores, the long boxes, the beat up, the smoke was in the air from the guy on the store smoking so many cigarettes. Like it was just a real old school store. And I discovered New Teen Titans #1 had just probably come out a month before, but it was still on the rack in the store. And I saw Robin, who I was a big Batman guy at the time. I saw Robin. I was like, I know him. And who are all those other people? And the cover just intrigued me. I picked it up. I flipped through it. It looked really cool. I took it home, and that was it. I was like, I'm in for life. Like this, it was amazing. I went back to the store the next week, bought my first bag and board, and because of New Teen Titans #1, the rest is history. I wound up working in that store all the way through college. My career path led to me to IT, but fortunately, I got to do some contracting for Reedpop, starting almost 10 years now. Doing Artist Alley, and eventually I got hired to be their comic talent manager, and now I'm doing something in the industry and doing something I love, and it's been an amazing ride. It's like I can't believe that I'm here. Every day I'm thankful for it. So it's been really cool. Oh, and art. I've always been a convention guy.
There's a connection there. Yeah, you got to go for that.
So I've always been a convention guy. I've always loved conventions. I remember being a teenager. I wasn't allowed into Manhattan. My buddy, who was a few years older than me, snuck me. He was doing a Suling show, and he snuck me into, or maybe it wasn't a Suling show. 80, like 87, 88. Was that still?
No, that would have been Fred Greenberg, right?
Greenberg show.
Yeah.
So the Greenberg show, and he set up a table. He had his car filled with boxes, and I was in the back seat under the boxes, and he snuck me into the city to go to the show. Met Jerry Ordway for the very first time, and I fell in love with conventions. So the art kind of became a thing for me. Was a few years later, I discovered people walking around with sketchbooks, and I was like, what are they doing? And somebody showed it to me, and sure enough, I found it really cool to go to conventions and get sketches. Like that was a way to connect to my favorite artists and be able to have conversation. You sit them, you watch them do a piece. And my very first piece was a Norm Brayfogle piece, 95, right there. That was my first.
Very nice.
Yeah. So that's how it started. That's how art started. And then eventually a friend of mine, a buddy of mine, said, you got to start getting into original art. And I was like, I like this. This is a cool experience. I get to actually talk to the artist. Buy an original. Who wants that stuff? Nobody wants that. And he said, you know, I'm working with a guy. He has this Teen Titans cover, Teen Titans 48 from the original series. You're a huge Titans guy. And I'm like, but it's not Perez. He's like, but it's Teen Titans. And he says, you'll buy it. You'll love it. You'll love it forever. And I was like, and it took some arm twisting. And eventually I bought it. Covered a new Teen Titans. Covered a Teen Titans 58.
Nice.
Buckler. So I was really, and you know, I don't have a tremendous amount of original art because I stuck more to the sketchbook stuff. But I picked up pieces here and there, and yeah, it's definitely I've picked up some great pieces by my favorite creators. So it's become, you know, a love of mine as well, among so many other things related to this industry.
Right.
Sure.
Well, it's all original art. It doesn't always have to be published, but you know, and I've got a better scan of that coming up when we talk about the couple pieces that we each wanted to pick out. So that's a good one, though. But you know, Steve, why don't we go over the pieces that you had me pull out for you, because there were a couple really nice ones in there. Is that all right?
Whatever works for you.
All right.
Well, that's the X-Men 2 page.
Yeah, it's a beauty.
Yeah, I own that. I co-own that with a friend. We both couldn't afford it, so we split it.
Now that is a first. I knew that, but of all the, you know, I don't know anyone else that has partial ownership in a page. Now, it's probably out there.
Oh yeah, it's out there.
But if this was a page to partially own, I think that it would be one that I would go for too.
Oh yeah, I mean, look at that whole bottom panel with the team. It's unbelievable. It's the first Vanisher. It's so much fun. Just a great, great, great page.
So is it in your possession today, or is it in the co-owner's possession today?
Actually, today it's in the co-owner's possession. Every 6 months we trade.
That's fair. That's fair.
Oh, the Ivan Reis piece. This is one of my favorite Superman pieces. I mean, it shows you exactly like the transformation of Clark Kent to Superman, and that the same people. Like you see the first panel, he's, you know, something is alerting his super hearing, then he uses his supervision, then he smiles because he knows what he's going to do, what he does best, and boom, takes off as Superman. When I saw this piece, I just had to have it.
Oh, I don't blame you.
And this one I just got out of Heritage a little while ago. Loved the Rampaging Hulk when I was growing up. And this page, I mean, just that, you know, just those panels alone are just so cool. I mean, the Hulk versus Thor is just classic, of course. And then the original Avengers coming at you is fantastic. I got offered money for it the day after I bought it. I guess the guy missed the auction, but I turned him down.
That's his Sal Buscema?
Yes.
Well,
I forgot who did the inks. It might have been Alcala.
you know what? I think when I looked it up, that's correct.
And that's the Starman 7 piece I was telling you about. That's never for sale. That's just my first piece of original art. And what's really cool about this is that, to me, it's, you know, I relate to the comic book, I relate to the art, I relate to the artist, to everything. When it's hanging in my house, people don't know it's a comic book cover. They just think it's a really cool piece of Art Deco art. And I have to explain to them that it's from a comic book, and they're like, that's incredible. I've never seen such great artwork on a comic book. And they haven't seen a comic book in 20 years, of course.
Right. No, that's a beauty. So you've at least it's framed and on your wall, and it will never be for sale.
Well, I shouldn't say never,
Never?
but, you know, not for the foreseeable future. This is what I collect most of. This is Tim Truman, such a great artist and a great guy. He's also a Grateful Dead fan, like I am. these are lyrics that he illustrated for the Grateful Dead. They commissioned him to do this. And this is the first song that Robert Hunter ever wrote the lyrics to for the Grateful Dead, called Alligator. And it's Robert Hunter was basically the Dead's lyricist for most of the time. And he's actually stopped doing them when Robert Hunter died this year. I got the last piece that he did. He actually wrote for Robert on it. I have quite a few pieces. It's one of my very big passions in life is Grateful Dead, music, and comic books. So the two combined is just fantastic.
I think that kind of segues into this piece too, right?
Yep, that one's called Fire in the Mountain by Jim Truman. I like it because it reminds me of Fin Fang Foom.
That's what I thought when I first saw this piece.
Oh,
yeah, right?
I see that, yeah.
It's very cool. So yeah, that's another one of my favorite songs. So I was able to get the artwork for that.
Very nice. Now, Mike, I'm going to show a few of your pieces too. Is that all right?
Absolutely. Just to let you know, I'm having like a little 2-second delay before I see the art. So it can take a second. But hey, just real quick, I want to count about Steve's art, if you don't mind.
Please.
It is so amazingly cool that the majority of the art you showed kind of merges two of your hobbies together. Your love of art, your love of comics, your love of music. That's when you get that, that's like peanut butter and chocolate. Like that.
Oh yeah, that's how I feel. I own about 8 pieces of Grateful Dead art. There's only about 50 in existence, and most of it's owned by like record executives and people like that.
Oh, that's
so I keep trying to find them, and that's the fun of our hobby, right? Is the hunt.
Is the hunt, exactly.
Absolutely.
Now, did you buy those pieces direct from Tim, or did you get them on
Some I got from direct from Tim. Some I bought one I bought from Heritage. Some I bought from Terry O'Neill. Just when they pop up, I grab them.
Nice.
Yeah, well, you're fortunate, man. and I don't. I've never done a search for Grateful Dead art on CAF. I mean,
I do all the time.
all right. But so there must be some other pieces around, right?
Yeah, it's just hard to find them.
Very nice. All right, let's see. I've got a couple pieces of Mike's here as well. Some will be very familiar, I think.
Oh wow!
Don't see it yet, unfortunately. Sorry. If you want to say, oh, okay, there you go. Yeah, those are my George Perez commissions. Again, George is a dear friend, and he's my favorite artist of all time. Again, I tell him and Marv both whenever I see them that if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be the person I am today. I wouldn't be in the industry I am today. So I don't know if I should thank them or blame them.
Yeah.
But I do know. I really do thank them. So these three commissions that I got from George. The very first one is the middle one. It's the Donna and the Corey piece over Titan's Tower. It was from 2001. I think this might have actually been one of the first commissions I did not get in my book. One of the cool things about this is I felt like I got to work with George Perez, which is an odd thing to say, because there was a lot of back and forth with the art direction. He would send me a sketch. He'd ask me for any opinions, anything I wanted, anything I didn't want, and just kind of back and forth. I wrote like a little. He asked me for like a little paragraph, and I wrote something up of exactly what I was looking for, and of course he nailed it. Like he got exactly what I was looking for. So that was an incredible experience. And then over the years, George has opened up his list a bunch of times, and I had to continue with the theme of getting some more Titans. I had already gotten Donna and Corey, so I decided to get Vic and Raven the next couple of times that I was able to get on the list. Raven and Cyborg, two of my favorite Titans. And I especially the Raven piece. I always loved the story and the dynamic between Raven and her father, Trigon, and I just felt like if George could put both of those in an image, it was a home run. And he loved the idea. He went with it, and as you can see, they're gorgeous. Very happy with both of them.
Very nice.
Yeah, I love the fact that Raven's shadow is coming out the back of that.
Yes.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. That's all George. Like those other two pieces, I just told George, Raven and Trigon, Cyborg, and he just went. Like there were the first piece, there was a little bit more, like I said, a little more art direction, as it were. But the others, he just went, and he's George Perez. He doesn't know how to draw a bad line.
No, it doesn't.
So
no, that is for sure.
Yeah. And one of the nicest guys in the industry by far.
Oh, he's a sweetheart. Yeah.
He truly is a sweetheart. And I was real thankful that he visited one of our shows on his farewell tour. He came to Chicago. And it was just, he had been in our artist alley a couple of times, but it was just an honor to be there for his kind of final farewell, and got to see him and Carol, and Marv was there as well. And it was just a great experience.
Yeah, I was just reminded of, Facebook always throws up an old photograph, and being New York Comic Con weekend, I had gotten one of the images I had taken of George at New York Comic Con when he was in Spencer's booth. And it was like, it was my most commented photo of, I can't remember. I think it was 2012 maybe.
Right. Yeah. So this piece is, it's page 10. I should know this, right? It's page 10 from Teen Titans #1, the Baxter series. It's like a half-page splash. Incredible line work here. It's by George. Not only did he pencil it, he also inked it himself, which he didn't do a lot of on the Titans. Only the first earlier issues, and then eventually, the inking duties were by other people. It's a long story, but this is an amazing story. I'm a huge Teen Titans fan. I grew up in a little comic book store in Brooklyn called Canarsie Books and Comics. I worked there for, like I said, since I was a little kid till college. A lot of people used to come into the store. A lot of regulars who became friends. Some that I'm dear friends with to this day. There was a person who used to come to the store, Brett. He was a great friend. We were both big Titans fans, and we were both big Perez fans. And he would come in all the time, and that's all we would talk about in our teenage years. So we kind of lost touch over the years, and we ran into each other on convention, exchanged emails, and just kind of every once in a while caught up with each other. And one day he just emails me. He's like, I want to have lunch with you. I want to just catch up. I was like, oh yeah, let's meet in the city. Great. And we show up, and sure enough, and he pulls this page out, and he goes, I was fortunate enough to come across a bunch of pages from New Teen Titans #1. I got them directly from George. I know how much you're a fan, and I'm getting rid of some, and I would love for you to have it. And I was like, Brett, that's an amazing offer, but this page is probably a little too steep for me. And he's like, I don't think you're getting what I'm saying here. He goes, I'm giving this to you as a gift. This is a gift.
Oh, wow.
Oh my goodness.
We spent so much time together as kids, talking Perez, talking Titans. I know how much you've always wanted an original published piece of Perez. And I always wanted, my still dream is to own an original Titans cover from Perez. And he said, I know you want the cover. He goes, I don't have a cover to give you, but he goes, I want you to have this page. And he goes, someday you'll get that cover. I know you will. So this was a gift. And again, it was one of the most generous and magnanimous gestures that's ever happened to me in the hobby. And it's probably not only for the comic and the art and George, but just the story as a whole is one of my favorite things that I own in the world.
I don't blame you. What a great story. I mean, what a great friend too. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think any of my friends have ever given me art before. That's fantastic. But I do know those Titan covers are out there. I know that one of the Comic Art live chats we did maybe in August, Will Gabrielle from Comic Art Page used to own, I guess, maybe like 8 to 10 of those early Teen Titan covers. And he doesn't own them anymore, but I know that, so at least they're out there.
I know they're around, so I know Mike Lovitz has a bunch of them. I know a few, what's his name? Jonathan Mancuda, I think it was, had a bunch that he got rid of a while back.
Jason Budnick too, I think.
So one of these days, Albert Moyne has one right now. He has 20 New Teen Titans 22 Brother Blood cover, and I keep saying, Albert, can I pay it off in the next 30 years like a mortgage?
Yeah.
Just laughs at me as he's apt to do. So again, the Teen Titans the Teen Titans cover that I almost didn't buy. I legitimately, my buddy Brian convinced me. He said Mitch from Graphic Collectibles had a Titans cover, and he was like, "You want this? It's cheap. It's $200." And I was like, $200 on a piece of art? Are you crazy? Like that's nuts. I'm not spending $200 on a piece of art. This was 95, 96 maybe. He's like, "You're a Titans guy." He's like, "It's got all your favorite Titans on it. Just do it. You won't regret it." And I was like, you know what? I'm not an art guy. Like I said, I was doing the sketchbooks at the time, but it's Titans. If for whatever reason I decide I'm not gonna keep it, I'll eventually, I'll get rid of it if I lose interest in it. And I'd have to say that over the years, I've actually become quite obsessed with this cover. Hey, can you take the art off for 1 second? Are you able to do that and bring the camera up?
Oh yeah. Hey.
If you don't mind.
Sure.
So again, I've become so obsessed with this cover that I've traveled far and wide to get any piece that I can related to the cover. So here's the original coloring from.
Oh, cool!
Wow.
Right. So that's really good. It's all hand colored, gorgeous. It's like a little painting. So then what came up on eBay a couple of years back is the acetate for it. I don't know if you guys can see it well.
Yeah.
Right, hold on. Wait, if I do this, maybe. Yeah, there we go. So then I got the acetate for it, right? And then I was at a convention and somebody happened to have the 4 acetates, the 4 color acetates.
Yeah.
And then I got that. So if you put those, you kind of put those all together.
You think you're a little obsessed, Mike?
Make the cover. So yeah, so I'm very obsessed with this cover. From something that I originally did not want, it's become one of my prized possessions, and now I have all the pieces of it, as it were. I'm on the lookout. If anyone sees it, I'm on the lookout for the original printing plates. So if anyone ever sees it, and then I'll have the complete package. Like I'll have the whole book, everything that made the book. So yeah, that's the Teen Titans 48. I'm a big
now
fan.
I have to hunt that down for you.
Right.
Killing me.
Well, everybody who's in the chat tonight will definitely be on the lookout.
Definitely. Yeah. I'm very interested. I don't know if that was the last piece you had for your build, but
no, I have
another one.
Just one more. It's that okay. John Byrne piece.
Oh, the John P. You're gonna hate me again. So, John, I'm obviously Perez is my favorite, but Byrne's pretty much my close second. I'm a huge John Byrne fan. Of course, John took over. And Superman, Titans, and Superman are my favorites. I'm a huge Superman guy. Steve knows.
Oh yeah.
I wear Superman stuff all the time. I have hundreds of Superman things. I have 35 Superman statues. Superman is my jam. So when you get to put Superman and Teen Titans together, I'm even happier. So John Byrne, when he took over Action, Action 584, and in the first issue was Superman and Titans. Like I was a kid in a candy store back when this came out in the 80s. So again, I have a lot of friends that I keep in touch with. One of the guys that I grew up with in that bookstore, my buddy Alan, we've kept in touch over the years. He moved out to the Midwest, but he kind of visits me here and there when I'm out in C2E2. But we always talk online, and we kind of share our artwork stories. And he's a huge art collector, big supporter of the charity auction. And one day we're talking over one of these Zoom calls, actually, pre-pandemic. But it wasn't a Zoom call. Sorry, we were sending pictures through Facebook, and he showed me his Superman wall, and he had this piece on his Superman wall, and I was like, wow, like that's amazing. And I told him the same story about how Superman and Titans, one of my favorites together. I go, if you ever want to part with this, I will never be able to afford it, but just let me know. Maybe, you hit me at the right time. So he's like, I don't think I'm ever going to part with it, but if I do, I'll let you know. And the very next year, he said, hey, I'm coming to C2E2. I'm going to drive up, wherever he's coming from. I'd like to meet you and hang out and, talk. So I was like, yeah, definitely. I'd love to see you. I always love catching up with him. So he calls me, he says, I'm outside in the lobby of the show. Come out. So I go running out. Then I'm like, hey, what's up? I hug him. Good to see him. Good to see his wife, his kids. And we're just talking real quick. And he goes, hey, I got a present for you. And I'm like, and I jokingly say, is it that that Action 584 page, and his face, and then he has like a little bag with a cardboard box, and he pulls it out. And I'm like, oh my God, no, I was joking, and this can't be, and I can't take it. And he's like, no. He's like, listen. He goes, this would mean more hanging on your wall than hanging on my wall. He goes, consider it a loan. I go, a loan? He goes, yeah, it's like an indefinite loan. He goes, if I ever want it back, I'll let you know. He goes, but for now, it's yours. And that's the piece that hangs on my wall, and it's been there for a number of years. And Alan, if you're watching, if you ever want it back, of course it's yours. But I love it with all my heart. Please don't take it back. So yeah, they're
brilliant.
My favorite pieces. Again, another very extremely magnanimous, generous gift from a friend. So
your superpower is clearly about getting free artwork from your good friends. I mean,
yes.
And
I want that superpower.
See, and I had this image queued up. I was going to do it when you were telling your origin story. I was going to tell everybody you were actually found in a field by a couple named Ken. And
that's awesome. And if there's any friends out there who want to donate more to my wonderful collection, I'm joking.
Now you make me feel guilty. I feel like I have to give you a piece of art.
Right. I'm totally just joking. Don't send me any art. One of the difficult things about working in the industry that I work in, especially working in comic talent and artist alleys, is everybody knows the artists are so amazing. They're so amazingly generous, and at shows people are constantly trying to push art on me, and I won't do it. I won't do it because that's their job and that's their livelihood, and I always appreciate the gesture, and they always want to do sketches for me, and I'm like, no, like, this is your job. No one comes and asks me to do my job for free. I appreciate it and I love you for it, but and some people still, they force it on me, they shove it in my bag, they give it to somebody else and then leave the show, and I'm like, they're like, they told me to give this to you before after they left, and I was like, so I thank all those people. So everybody always just kind of likes to give me a couple of things here and there, so I appreciate everybody being so generous.
It's always nice. Dave Sim always does like something for me when he knows he's going to see me. It blows my mind. I'm like, Dave, you don't have to do anything. He's like, I know you love this stuff, so here, take this. It's crazy.
It's crazy, yeah. And it's a humbling thing because, for me and Steve and Bill, I'm sure you feel the same way. Like, these are our heroes. We grew up with them.
Yeah, exactly.
And now they're our friends and they're our buddies. And, you get to talk to them and talk to them on the phone and hang out with them and go for drinks. And it's mind-blowing sometimes.
We're very blessed. Very blessed.
Very blessed. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Great ride.
I do feel fortunate every single day to be able to do this. I mean, it's not where after I got out of college, it's, I thought I was just going to do sculpture and metalwork and all this stuff. That was my focus. And, I married my wife and she was like, you're working too hard. You need a desk job, and that's when I was like, the internet's a kind of, cool thing. Maybe I could do that. It's like 94. And then if it wasn't for her doing all the programming, we wouldn't have CAF. So, I owe everything I have done to her to let me get back into doing something that I love. So,
well, we need to thank her big time. I mean, CAF, I mean, I got to tell you, I mean, I didn't join CAF until 99, I guess, or 2000. And what it's done for the hobby is amazing. I mean, the prices wouldn't be where they are today. The community wouldn't be where it is today. What you've done with CAF is just unbelievable. I have such a great time just going on there for 20 minutes, just browsing. It's just fantastic. And it's helped educate me quite a bit since, when I first started, which was quite good. And I made so many friends through it. It's a fantastic thing what you've done. I really have to give you a lot of props, Bill. It's fantastic.
Absolutely, Bill. You've built this amazing community. When I go to shows, my own shows, other shows, meeting up with other members, just getting to talk with them, and finally getting to put a face to a name, and then kind of geek out over art, and showing a lot of guys are carrying their portfolios and just sharing, and then building these friendships and these relationships, and like That's all you, man. You built that. You started that for us.
Yeah, what's really cool is, like, you know, you buy a piece of art and you get at a convention, you're showing people a calf all the time. You're like, yeah, here's my new pieces. It's really cool, man.
Yeah. No. Well, I definitely, you know, it's a humbling experience for sure. You know, but no, I thank you guys. I mean, I wouldn't have met either one of you. You know, and that's what's
right.
cool about it. You know, I look at CAF in general has, you know, built up great friendships for me. You know, and I've got to work with a lot of cool people and you know, make their businesses better. I think, you know, I've built 25 art dealer websites and you know, and doing the stuff with the convention stuff has been fun. I mean, I remember I used to own Big Wow with Morgar and Frank Cho.
Right.
And the stuff that I've been doing in the last 6 months has been a lot like that. Because usually for me, you know, it's just my wife and I, and we've worked from home, and I don't get to like socialize with other people. So when I was working with Big Wow, so Mike, you can relate to this. It's a very, you know, working in a con experience, you gotta really network with everybody, get along with everybody, and that's what doing the Comic Art Live show was like. You know, I had to have people help me with the panels. I had to have people help me with some of the PR, and you know, and the same thing's going to end up happening again. And again, if it wasn't for COVID, I wouldn't be in these situations again today. So,
sure,
you know, it's fun.
I think one of the things that's also really cool about CAF is like, and I'm very guilty of not having updated my CAF gallery for probably close to 15 years. I'm very
You're nailed, man.
There was a reason why I didn't link to your CAF gallery, because I didn't want everybody to know that you hadn't up. Now I'm just going to link to it now because you just told everybody.
I know it exists, but it's, again, I haven't updated it in forever. But I spend a lot of time on there, a lot of time trolling through the art. I have searches in link favorites set up for Teen Titan searches, Legion of Superhero searches, Superman searches. I'm on there a good amount of time. I just lazy when it comes to scanning and putting up art. But one of the things I think, again, going back to CAF, is that the coolest thing is, I think that you have given people a platform to not only showcase their art, but be able to put art in folks' hands that would have never happened without comic art fans.
Absolutely,
their Grail pieces, or just pieces that mean so much to them in their collection, and it would not have happened if you didn't make those connections. Sure, they could have gone to a show. Sure, there would have been eBay, or whatever the case may be. But the premier place to find art is comic art fans. Like. So
yeah, I mean, I've had pieces up there that says not for sale, and have people contact me and say, "This is my Grail piece. I will pay whatever it takes."
Right.
And you know, I'm like, well, I'm not a dummy. I'm like, well, you know, if the right price, gotta let it go. I can buy more art, but it goes to a good home, which is so important. You know, when somebody calls you and say this is their Grail piece. You know, and it's not Albert Moy, or it's not Anthony, you know, but you know, it's an amazing thing, and when you can share the hobby, the way CAF has let us do that is just fantastic. It's really been a phenomenal ride for me, at least.
Well, thanks. I mean, that is why I built it. At the end of the day, you know, back when. Before CAF, there was a site that people could share their collections on, but they could only post 5 pieces at a time.
Yeah.
And so they'd.
Was that Comic Art I'll?
Yeah, but it was called it was on a site called Longbox, and it kind of moved around because there were a couple people who were responsible for hosting it for 3 or 4 years while it was in existence. But they only could have 5 pieces. And so people would just really, you know, they tended to just focus on their 5 best pieces, or 3 of them would be for sale and 2 of them were permanent collections. So you're really only ever seeing a small part of what was there. And at that time, I was collecting a lot of convention sketches too. And nobody would show their convention sketches because they were too worried about showing their published stuff.
Right.
And I was like, all right, you know, I got to make a resource where we can look at everything, because, you know, to get those pieces, to shake those pieces out so we can see them and make people, you know, display and be proud of these lesser sketches that they're getting. You know, I mean, that's like I told you, I set a few things aside Perez wise. So here, I'll just put out, like, I got a Perez Captain America, and of course it's to my son, but it's from '03, you know, and
That's
so
gorgeous.
stuff like that would never be out there, you know, for people to check out. And then here's a couple other
Nice.
sketches,
Yeah.
you know. I mean, it's
Wow.
stuff, just little things. I think I got those like at MegaCon, and my best George Perez story is. And this relates to Hero, Steve, is back in like 2000, let's see, well, it's 2006. That was when Hero started doing a lot of auctions for, you know, events and or meet and greets, before meet and greets were a thing.
Right.
And at Pittsburgh, Perez was doing a lunch, and, you know, and he would do a sketch. And so my son and I won the auction, and I took my son, you know, it's 2006, so he was probably 8 years old, and we had lunch with George Perez. It was absolutely great, you know, and he paid for it. And I'm like, why? You know, he's like, no, well, you won the auction, you know, we're paying for lunch. But and here, this is the drawing that he did for my son.
Oh,
wow!
I've seen that piece before. That piece is amazing. Wow,
yeah, and
that is great.
And you know, so the funny thing was, you know, he asked my son what he wanted. And he said, "I'll draw 2 characters for you." And he said, "Oh, you know, my 2 favorite characters are Superman and Thor in comics." And he's like, "You want me to make them fighting, right?" And my son's like, "No, I want them to be friends." and George is like,
so nice.
He's like, "Nobody asked me to make Thor and Superman be friends." He's like, "All right, I'll do that for you."
That is so cool.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, but it was sketches like that, you know, it was things you knew that stuff existed and nobody was sharing it, and that was really the reason why you know, I thought CAF would be a good thing. You know, I never thought of it as a business, or I never thought of it as even a networking thing. I just kind of said, you know, initially it's like, I wanted people to get to know me because I was new to the hobby, but I was like, I just want to shake that stuff out.
Sure. But it grew organically. I mean, which is fantastic. I mean, it's such a powerful force today. You've done such a great job.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's and I will say, it just, you know, the Comic Art L, which was where all this started. Remember, at the time it was a Yahoo group, and you guys might not know this, but just 2 days ago, Yahoo has finally said they are shutting down their groups platform.
Oh, so, really?
Yeah, so it's really like an end of an era, because Comic Art L, they are migrating to a different. I can't even remember what the name of the platform is. I mean, I don't even remember. But it's exactly the same. It's where you can communicate, you know, send it into the list by email, and you can read it all. So it's still that old mailing list kind of format. But yeah, they still have 3,000 members as you know.
Wow.
Oh yeah, yeah, and it's
look, anything that helps the hobby grow, I'm all for it.
Exactly.
You know, that's the key.
Yes. Well, you know, and just thinking of that now, I mean, you know, before we go on, I mean, clearly both of you have been really involved in charities. Just, you know, so thinking of that piece, I mean, Steve, you've been involved with the Hero Initiative for, you know, for as long as I've known you. You've been on the board, right?
Long time, yeah. I love working with the Hero Initiative. I mean, it's, you know, giving back to creators that have no money. They gave us so much enjoyment, and a lot of us are making money off of what they've done. So I always say, if I would accept charity, if I needed it, then I should give it, not just money, but time as well, if I can. So I do. I think giving back to our hobby is so important. Not just our hobby. I mean, Mike and I have worked together many years doing the St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital charity auction for the art. It's a lot of work. I don't know how Mike does it. I mean, I come up there and I only do 4 hours or 3 hours of auctioneering, which is pretty brutal. I don't know how he does a full, you know, 6 months of getting it together, organizing it. He does a fantastic job. But I mean, we need to take care of each other on this planet. It's very important. I can't stress that enough. I mean, comic books are great, comic art's great, music's great, whatever, but our friends and family are more important. And even the people we don't know that need help, that are good people, we should be helping them.
I agree.
I'm 100% on the same page with Steve. And when I started the charity, 10 years. It's hard to believe. 10 years. I was just so thankful, like, because again, I'm a fanboy forever, and I was just so thankful to finally be in the industry that I love so much. And then once I was here, I was like, well, oh, that's a great picture. I just felt, I felt I had to find a way to give back, and I had to find something to work within the industry to do it, and teamed up with Steve, and we started small. Like, I never would have imagined where it began is where it now is now. The virtual auction that we did just last week raised over $100,000, which, if you would have told me that 10 years ago that we would have an auction that would raise $100,000, I would have never believed you. Oh, thanks, Rich.
That's really sweet. Rich is such a nice guy, and he's always at the auctions too.
Always at the auction. Sweet man. Always supports us. Him and his wife.
His wife is a sweetheart too. Yeah.
Always love seeing them at shows, and they're huge supporters. And I think his wife won a couple of pieces, if I remember correctly, this last auction. I know she was bidding on a couple. But again, it was just all about how to give back, and the artists have been amazing. They've jumped on board. It's become like this really crazy, awesome, amazing community between the artists and the volunteers and the people who come to the auction. And we all do it for the love of art, but we do it for the mission of St. Jude, and people rise to the occasion. Like, you throw out the call, and people can't do enough. They go above and beyond. And so far, after a decade, we've raised $683,000 for St. Jude. So it's
an amazing thing what we've done, and especially what you've done, Mike. I mean, $680,000 for a charity that's a real charity. That's an amazing thing.
Right. Like, I couldn't when I first started, I couldn't think of what I wanted to do as far as a charity was concerned. Of course, Heroes was a thought, and
Sure.
Legal Defense Fund was a thought, and I wanted to. I have kids, and I thought, like, what's most important to me, and I was like, taking care of kids in the future and sick kids, what could be a more worthwhile hobby, worthwhile charity. But it was also, I wanted to kind of prove something in that comics, like, again, Heroes Initiative and Comic Book Legal Defense Fund, close to my heart, amazing charities. But I wanted to show that the comics community could do something bigger than themselves, come outside of themselves. Comic books has become a pop culture now. But growing up for most of my life, it wasn't.
Right.
You were a comic nerd. Like, you weren't looked upon the way people are looked upon, loving the Avengers and Batman and Superman today. So I just want to kind of be able to put that out there more and show that we are a community and an industry that is larger than people can gave us kind of credit for. And it was kind of around the time where the movies really broke big, and it just showed, like, we are a community that is part of a larger world and can give back and contribute and do big things. And everybody's doing that, and it's been such a humbling experience. It truly has.
You've done a wonderful thing, Mike. You deserve a lot of kudos.
We've done it. It's a team effort. It's you, and it's Natalie. It's the people of St. Jude who's been great supporters. The artists and the artists who contributed over the years. Like, this is a team thing. There is not one man who did this. We did it together. And
but there's one man doing point.
That is very true. Now, hey, Rich did ask, since the online auction was so successful, do you think that might be the platform going forward, or?
Well, that's a good question, because I'm not going to lie. When we did this virtual auction, I was very nervous. Like, I was like, we're not gonna raise a lot of money. People aren't going to pay attention. It's there's a lot of fatigue with the online world, and I was really, like, hesitant about the idea, but I wasn't going to let something go by without doing anything. So we put it together, And then it exceeded my wildest expectations. And then I'm like, afterwards, I'm kind of like, wow, like this is kind of amazing. Like, and everyone's asking me the same question: are you going to just do it online? So much more potential, because we reached fans all over the world. There was fans in Brazil and Singapore and people from all over that usually wouldn't get a chance to because the auction's physically in person. And I said, the auction itself has become such an integral part of these shows. Again, we've built an amazing community, an amazing family. I see the same people out there. We keep building every year. More people come in. You know, we started with like 40 people in a room. Now we got like 400 people in a room. And everyone tells me it's like one of the favorite parts of their auction, their convention experience, their weekend. They bring their wives, they bring their kids. It's become something more than just the donations and just the art. So I feel like I can never take away from that. And I will never take away from that. We will always, once the physical shows return, we will have the physical shows. But I think I'm going to find a way to do an online component as well. Nothing that's necessarily going to compete with the physical stuff. I'm toying with how the idea is. Maybe the creators who want to donate who are physically at the show do that. That's when we do our physical traditional auction, and then I'll reach out to creators that won't be at our events and ask them if they're interested in donating also, and we'll take those items and we'll put them online and we'll kind of do something joint. This way, we're still servicing our core family and community that are at the physical events, but yet still we're able to reach a wider audience and a wider community, and maybe raise a little bit more. Because as Steve knows, over the years we've both agonized about some pieces that went for way lower than they have. And Steve, Steve, to his credit, he always, if a piece was going too low, he'd bid on it. He'd bid on it until he won it, and he'd be like, "If no one, I'm taking it." And he would walk out, God knows how many pieces, and Pam would want to kill me, I'm sure, when he got it.
Pam loves you.
I love you guys. So we'll never do away with the physical auctions. It just means too much to too many people.
All right. Well, I think that was really one of the things I thought that conventions were going to learn, was that having an online component isn't necessarily a bad thing, because I mean, certainly in an auction platform or an auction at NYCC, everybody who's going to it feels they have an advantage because it's only the people who can be there get to see it. But I kind of felt like after San Diego shows did their thing and DC did their thing, and you've done a couple, Reedpop's done a few different things. I kind of felt like most shows, if they're savvy, will try to find ways to have an online component, because it does extend the part of the show out to people that can't attend. And
Absolutely.
So even if that means maybe you're only live streaming an opening event, or you're doing part of your auction online, I think conventions have to kind of roll with the times, because the idea being that and it's going to be challenging, because you might only be able to have half the occupancy next year. I mean, so you got to figure out how we're going to bring these people in and let them experience it, in some way. And auctions would be one thing, and live streaming a few important panels would be another. And but there has to be something, or I think there needs to be something, because right. It'll make it so your events, like you said, they're global then. And
that's what you want. Sure.
I can tell you, we have talked at Reedpop. We've talked about it for years about doing, more online stuff. But convention and Bill, because you've worked with conventions a lot. Steve, too. Like, they're so busy, they're so hectic, there's so much preparation. The online stuff always became like an edge of the desk project. We talked about it a ton, and we always how can we reach a wider audience? But we just never got there until we were forced to get there.
Now we have to.
Now we're building the infrastructure so that when the physical shows come back, and they will come back, we'll be able to complement them with virtual stuff as well, and be able to reach a wider audience. For me, one of the most touching things about it's been difficult. I'm not going to lie, not physically being there, because I love. The reason I do what I do is I love to be at the events, and I love to see people's faces and see them interact with their favorite creators and with each other. Like, I see them, and I know they're making a memory that will last a lifetime. And I know they're taking that away, and they don't know how much I've done to contribute to that memory, or some other staff member or some crew member. But so it's not a matter of looking for credit, but I know that I had a part in making that person's memory that will stay with them forever. And when we started doing the virtual stuff, I was like, that's just not the same. Like I didn't have that feeling, and it was definitely a little difficult. But once we started doing them, and we started talking to these fans from around the world that would never be able to get to attend a physical event, who's never coming to a New York Comic Con, who's never coming to a San Diego Con. I talked to some amazing people in Peru on one of our virtual events, and they were literally in tears about being able to interact with some of their favorite creators, because there was like, I will never be able to visit them. I will never be able to go to a show. And then it made me realize, like, we're still doing the same thing. It's not right as immediate before your eyes, because a lot of it's just in views and ticks on a counter, as it were. But when you get to have these little moments with the online fans, you realize that you are reaching a wider audience, people that would never get to have these experiences, and it does mean a lot. And that's, to me, that's what it's all about. It's all about the fans. It's all about giving them these memories. So it's been pretty cool. And we're gonna virtual stuff, more physical stuff, bigger and better in both avenues.
Absolutely.
Great. Nope, I'm a firm believer. Obviously, I mean, I think I'm going to do these art shows every 6 months. I mean, it's just people want them. I wish I would have been doing them for the last 6 years, because CAF has always been like, it's like I could have a convention any day I wanted. And it never occurred to me until COVID happened that I should organize it, make an organized event around it. So
this whole thing has made all our companies think about how to do things differently, which is, I mean, it's a thin silver lining to this COVID, but there's always a silver lining. And I think things are going to change quite drastically on how we do business and in our hobby going forward. I think people are noticing the online presence can work just as well without spending as much money to go sell your stuff or go, show off your stuff or go find stuff. It's going to be an interesting year. It should be a very interesting year this year.
Yeah.
Right. I agree. I've talked to a few artists that, they'll do an online show with a comic shop or something, and they'll do an interview, and the artist will get to sell art during the interview, and maybe they're selling some variant covers and whatnot as part of it, and the artist will make $7,000, $8,000 for the hour that they spent online. Now, is that artist going to travel to the same number of shows if they could do, if they could do that every other month? I mean,
no hotel, no flights, no food costs, none of that stuff.
Right. They did it right out of their studio.
But there's also something to be said about meeting your fans and your fans meeting you.
I agree. I'm not saying they stop, but I mean.
Oh no! I'm just saying that right now we're in a place where that's not happening.
Right.
And it's a real bummer, because, like, and Mike was saying, when he sat down, he got to meet one of his heroes. I mean, this is it's happened to all of us.
Right.
And when you get to meet our heroes, it's unbelievable. I was a kid, I got to meet Jack Kirby and Stan Lee, and stuff like that without having to pay for a signature.
What?
Yeah.
You mean Stan didn't go to a show and have a huge requirement of money he had to make while he was there? He was just there to hang out with the fans. Wow.
He didn't have any crooked handlers at the time.
No, I know. And and Mike, you didn't have to stow away behind some comic boxes to get into the show.
That wasn't to get into the show. That was because there was no room for me, and I was sneaking out of the house to get to the show. So that was more about if I didn't sit under the boxes, I wasn't going.
I get it. See, I thought you were a stowaway. I think
you were a stowaway too.
I wasn't a stowaway. No, I went. Ironically enough, I think those guys didn't even take me in. Like, they're like, "Oh, you're taking me on the other side." Nowadays, I'm like, what? Like, I still make fun of them for that, or at least one of the guys.
But the story was much cooler when you were a stowaway getting into it.
Right. I figured you were going to tell us that's how you get into drive-in movie theaters and stuff like that, even today. So,
You want to hear something funny? I started working for New York Comic Con in 2011. 2011 was my first New York Comic Con that I worked, but I had gone to the show from the very first time. But I think I don't know. I know Steve's was there, but I don't know if you were at them, Bill. But they were chaotic. They were chaos. They're still chaos.
Oh yeah.
But as a fan, I just walked into those shows. I never waited on those lines. I found all the nooks and crannies and the routes and the hidden elevators to get into those shows because I wasn't going to wait through the chaos. And then as soon as I got on the other side of it, I was like, who are those people sneaking into the show?
Right.
Man, like, who's sneaking into my show? Meanwhile, like the year before, I was like, if I just walk in with these guys with the boxes, no one will know.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first show I went to, I don't know, it probably would have been around 2010, but that was still when you allowed exhibitors to pull up to those doors, right across from that really small parking lot where all the food trucks are now.
Oh, yes.
Because
right.
Yeah, because I had helped Berkey unload there, and I remember we were at that time we were able to pull right up to the doors. Yeah. There was literally there were
those
no
days are over.
Yeah, no, you gotta
put like 20,000 people now. We line them up in that little inner roadway there.
Yeah, you spend a day in line.
Yes,
we get them in quick. It amazes me the mechanics behind. It took a lot of years, but we finally figured out we get like 20,000 people in like less than an hour, and it always boggles my mind that.
Wow.
It's crazy.
That's cool.
So Steve, here's a question for you that Michael Finn had that I'll pull up. It kind of brings us back to comic art. What is the one piece that got away that you wish you had bought but passed on?
Oh, this is even worse. So I think I lied earlier when I said my first piece of original art that I bought was the Starman cover. Years ago at a Greenberg show in the early 80s. Or mid 80s, I'm guessing. I ran into Berkey, and he had the Fantastic Four cover where it's the Ghost Rider, Spider-Man, and the Punisher, and the Hulk. And he sold it to me for $400. I got home, I looked around my office, and I saw like $200,000 worth of comic books, and said, I cannot start another hobby.
No.
So the next month I went back to the show and I brought it to Berkey and I said, look, I'll take a loss on it. I just can't start doing anything else. He said, no, I'll buy it back from you for what you paid me because I can sell it for more now. And he was very nice. He could have raped me. And Berkey's just a gentleman. He's just a very nice man. And I gave that piece back to him and went and bought some comic books. But I guess that cover today is worth a fortune. I mean, Art Adams, Fantastic Four, just crazy.
It's a classic.
That's the one that got away, and I let it. I threw it back into the pond.
Somebody is gonna run into you at a show one day, and they're gonna have heard this story, and they are just gonna slap you.
Oh yeah, or show me the piece and go, hey, guess what I have that you can retire on,
Even worse.
Now, I swear that maybe it was on CAF, or maybe I'm thinking, was it in an auction? One of Art's Fantastic Four covers was, I mean, it's either, like I said, either I recently saw it on CAF or it was recently.
I recently saw something where one of the Fantastic Four covers went for a lot of money.
Maybe it was it was one of the recent Heritage auctions. I don't know. I'm gonna have to look that up now because I know for certain that that image was, I think it was on CAF. To be honest with you, I'll have to look around.
Yeah, let me know. I'm interested. It's cool to find out where the piece went.
Yes, well, and Michael Finn agrees. He would regret that one too. I think everyone would agree. and Mike, and you know what? And Mike's the only one who made out. He probably sold it for double, and thought he was.
Yeah, he did great, and he treated me fairly.
Nope. No, Mike is a good guy.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Hey, what I did want to talk about, at the very least, your experience with Heritage with the Shamus collection, and how you were able, how you were able to bring that whole thing together, because that easily was probably the most memorable, heritage auction in the last 10 years, right? I mean, as far as like the excitement that went into that, and clearly that's not something a deal you would have put together in a few hours. So.
Oh no, it took a long time to put together, but Gareb and Steven are very good friends of mine, and they've been so for many, many years. So when their father wanted to sell the art, that he traded most of for the art, he traded mostly baseball cards to Todd McFarlane. So he made out like a bandit. But anyway, Steven called me, Steven Shamus, and said there's a collector who was offering him money. Offered him, I think, about $100,000 for the Spider-Man 1 cover, which I think went for $220 plus the VIG at the time. And the Spider-Man cover where Hulk's saying through the logo went for like $657,000, and I think they thought it was worth about $50,000. So I had to jump through a lot of hoops to get this collection because I had this collector who was offering them cash, and I was like, "Well, look, this cover's not worth $100,000; it's worth $200,000. But if I'm wrong, it's still worth $150." It took a lot of talking, but the family knew me and liked me, and I promised them the cover for the catalog with the Spider-Man 1 cover for Heritage. And when I got to Heritage, after making this promise, all these people were like, "Oh, it's a modern market. You can't do this. How did you make these promises? We're never going to make money off this stuff." Meanwhile, the stuff sold for 20 times more than they ever expected. The family kept giving me a big hug afterwards and made me feel very good. I mean, it was my job, but when people make really good money. But when I saw everything that was there, I could not believe it. I was just so happy. There was so much Liefeld, so much Todd McFarlane, John Byrne, everything that you could imagine. It was such a fanboy's dream going through it. So it wasn't just like my job at that point. It was just me having fun. Bringing it to auction was tough. And once I got to auction, though, boy, boom, it took off like a skyrocket.
Yeah, I'm going to share. This isn't from the auction, but that's the piece that I had just seen. So
no, it was a different one.
It was a different one?
Yeah, it was a different cover.
All right. The one you own.
Yeah, the one I got.
Okay,
but yeah,
this is the one I had just seen on CAF.
Yeah, that's the one I saw, I think, too.
And
it's
of course,
great, man. It's a fantastic cover.
No pun.
No pun intended. Yeah.
I remember now why I saw this cover recently. It's because I interviewed Dan Poddick, who owns this cover. I did I did an update with him about a month ago, and this was one of his 5 pieces that he selected. So now I feel stupid because that is why I remember the cover. So
shouldn't feel stupid. We all have to see so much stuff coming through our hands, through the internet. You can't keep it all together.
Hey Steve, I got a question for you. Because I know you've touched every amazing comic book that's ever been known to man. But art wise, because I have one for myself, but art wise, what is the most incredible thing that you've ever held in your hand? Not necessarily own, but just like, I can't believe I'm holding this piece of art, this cover, whatever it is.
Probably was it Weird Science Fantasy number 29? Jim Halpern owns it. The Frazetta cover.
Wow.
It's insane. I mean, the detail, I mean, just the tiniest stuff. It's just done so well. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, I've held a lot of art in my hands. I've just been blessed in this hobby. That people show me stuff and whatever. I mean, Captain America 100 cover. I couldn't believe I was holding it. It's there's just so much great art out there. It's just a joy, and I don't care if it's worth money. I mean, I have pieces I bought for $100 because I think it's just great art.
Right.
It's not about the money; it's about what I love.
Right. I just love the feel of it, like.
It feels like money.
No. Like you said, it doesn't matter if it's $100 piece.
No, I'm saying when you hold one of those in your hand, you're going, Oh my God!
Yeah. I was fortunate enough, not last year, but 2 years ago, somebody brought the original Dark Knight Returns cover
Oh, nice.
to show Frank Miller. He was at the show, and they wanted to bring it to him. I guess he had not seen it in like 30 years.
Did Frank care?
Yeah, he was actually.
Oh, cool.
He really did, and
That's great.
It was kind of this incredible moment. We kind of brought him to the back of the convention, and he looked at the cover for the first time in years, and he kind of eyeballed it and touched it. It was just amazing to watch him review this thing that he hadn't seen ever, and that obviously is such a historic piece, an historic part of his career. And then like he said, "Hey Mike, you want to get a picture with?" And I got a picture of me, him, and I'm holding the cover to Dark Knight #1, and I'm like touching it, and I'm like, this is just not real. Like this moment.
Yeah, exactly.
You go back and tell like 14-year-old Mike Negin, someday you're gonna hold the original art to Dark Knight Returns 1, and with Frank Miller holding the other end of it. I would have said, you're an effing liar, future Mike.
Sure, no, I feel the same way. I mean, if somebody said to me when I was 14 that I'd be like getting paid to look at comic books for a living, I'd be like, you're out of your mind, but I hope so.
Yeah.
But I still can't believe that, we all make a good living in this hobby because we love it. And it's a fantastic thing that we get to do what we love it every day. I mean, it's still work. And there's days I get to work and I don't want to go to work, right? Just like everybody else in the world. But I get there and, it kind of falls into place.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely a labor of love. There's a lot of hard days, but there's a lot of big, amazing days, and there's a lot of payoff, and
sure,
dream moments.
Absolutely. Like hanging out with you guys is a dream moment for me. So hey,
always, brother.
I'm happy.
You are too nice. You're far too kind, Steve.
No, it's true.
but Mike, that should have been a picture you sent me, so I could have pulled that up on the screen, because I think we'd all would have liked to have seen Frank's face holding that piece of artwork.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't think I have a picture of him holding it, like reviewing it, but there's the picture of me, him, and the artwork.
Hey, that's a great picture.
Yeah, it is. It's an amazing picture.
Cool.
It's one of those moments that gave me chills. A moment that also gave me chills, not art related. And Steve, to you, it's probably old hat, but in Chicago, I got to hold that Action Comics 1 for the first time.
It's awesome, isn't it? The first time you get to hold an Action 1.
Vincent from Metropolis had one, a really awesome copy one, and I was just like staring at it. And he knows how much of a Superman fan. He's like, "Do you want to hold it?" And I was like, "I don't know if I trust myself." And he's like, "No, it's fine." And I got to hold it. And he took a picture, and it was like. It's like one of those moments you just get chills. Like it's the ultimate thing.
Oh no, I know. I mean, and I'm gonna make you cry. I've owned 2 Action 1s.
And you've told me that. No,
yeah.
You told me, and it does make me cry.
And the first time I bought an Action 1, I was like freaking out, man. I was like, I can't believe I own this. I can't believe I took the time to pay it off. It took me years to pay it off, and it was just amazing. But it is, Action 1 is the book, it just is.
Yep. It started it all, really.
Yeah, I've been very lucky. I got to see the Mile High before the Edgar Church copy before it got put away forever.
Oh wow!
And that was 1997, and it's like a 9.496. I mean, this thing is unbelievable. I thought like the inks are like jumping out at you, like it was printed today.
Wow.
Yeah.
The one I held was like it was like a 9 or a 9.2. It was
nice.
It was Steve Jeppy's copy at one point, and I don't know how it got in Vincent's hands, but Steve was there when I was holding it. He was like, he said to Vince, he goes, "Is that mine? Is that my old copy?" like it was a BT Titans #1 to me. He was like, "Is that my old copy?" Like
yeah. Steve's owned a few, so I don't know.
it was gorgeous, and made me weep.
Well, I don't have a story at all. Unfortunately.
Well, you know what? I'll fly out with an Action 1 and give you the story.
Yeah. I need that, or I need some early piece of Miller artwork or something. But I was a big Byrne fan. I've held a few early like Burn X-Men covers, and a few early Cockrum covers of of X-Men stuff, and I think that might be, for me, that's my that's my bread and butter.
Sure, I mean, that's great stuff.
Yeah, and all thanks to Berkey, because he's got. You can only imagine what his place looks like. He's got this like war room, and there's just art piled all around him that he probably hasn't.
I bought a piece from him and he couldn't find it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. He used to.
I mean, no hard feelings at all. I mean, I know how Mike works. He has so much art.
Right, and he's wise. He'll hold on to the good stuff forever. I mean, he showed me some art once, like probably 10 years ago, and I'd asked for a piece, and he's like, I'm not going to sell it. And I'm thinking, you're an art dealer. Why aren't you going to sell it? Because it was something at the time I probably could have afforded, maybe $1,000 a page. And I was at his house like 4 months ago, and that same stack of art was there. Like, Mike, why haven't you sold this? He's like, I move it around, and because now those pages are probably like $14,000 to $18,000.
Yeah, exactly.
Just the interiors, and I was just like, doggone it, man. You gotta let these go. And he's like, they're just, he goes, they're just too good to let them go right now. He's like, I'm gonna keep them. I'm like, man, that's pretty cool. I can't.
No, he's a very smart man. I mean, and he has a passion for the hobby, which the combination is important. If you don't have a passion for the hobby, I couldn't care less if I deal with you or not.
Right.
And Mike is one of the guys who loves the industry and the art more than almost. I've only a few times, but great guy, really good.
Oh yeah, fantastic.
So, so Steve, just kind of back to the heritage stuff. I mean, if you didn't do if you didn't do CBCS, do you think you'd still be working with Heritage, or what?
Absolutely. Heritage is the place. I mean, Heritage is they're a monster. Comic Link does real well. They do very well with art. As you know, Bill, I don't have to tell you that. But Heritage is a monster. I loved working with them. Had a shot to open up my own place. Took it. But tell you, if I ever quit grading comic books, I go back to Heritage.
Yeah,
they're great people, and they bring a lot to the table. They really care about the hobby. People think they care about money. They care about the hobby as well, because they know that without the hobby, there is no money.
Right. No, I've had nothing but good experience working with them over the years.
Oh yeah, and Jim Halpern's a genius and a sweetheart. Ed Jaster, Lon Allen, Todd Hignite. I mean, without Todd, I would not be anywhere near as knowledgeable about comic art as I am today. And Barry Sandoval's another great guy to work with, and Valerie Malecki, I work with her with the video games. So just great people. Jerry Steffen. I could go on, and I'm leaving out people, and they're gonna yell at me later, but that's okay.
I've only had very limited dealings with Heritage, but I think similar to CAF, like they're doing the industry a service by giving the opportunity for so much of this art and collectibles and old toys and just whatever it is to get out into the market that otherwise wouldn't have an opportunity, that would sit there. We would never see it. We would never see it.
And the fact that they leave up all their sales, I think that's amazing.
Yeah,
transparency should be everything in our hobby. We should treat each other really well. We shouldn't hide stuff. We should say, like, look, this is the deal. And yeah, maybe I paid $800 for it, but I won $8,000. It's worth $8,000. What do you care what I paid for it, right? It's worth whatever somebody's willing to pay. But the Heritage Archives really help so much when you try and do. I have actually a Tony Daniels piece, Batman piece. I was trying to figure out what the value is. I went to Heritage. And I looked through Tony Daniel artwork, what was sold recently, and how it compares to mine. And I figured out, well, I think I got to keep it another year before I sell it. But it was nice to know, nice to have that knowledge at your fingertips. the information's important.
Agreed.
I agree.
Even though it makes me cry sometimes when I look back at the old heritage auctions and see pieces of what they went for 5, 6 years, 7 years ago, and realize what they're worth now. Should have pulled the trigger then. Then I thought it was too much, and now it's like I wish I would have pulled the trigger then.
Yeah, let's go back to the first Sotheby's auction.
Yeah.
If I spent $100,000 there, I would have been retired.
Exactly.
You know, but nobody knows. We don't have a crystal ball. We don't know the future. The bottom line is, with collectibles, you buy what you love, buy what you can afford, and you're going to be in good shape. You know, you don't want to go into heavy debt. You know, that's always a bad sign in our hobby. You know, you just want to love what you own. Don't listen to other people. If they say that you should be buying something that you don't love, you know, unless for sure you can make huge profit quickly, don't do it. You know, buy what you love, buy what you can afford, and just enjoy the hobby.
Exactly. It's all about getting stuff that you love.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, that's a common mantra with, you know, we always tell all new comic art buyers is, you know, because, you know, people get the itch when they start buying, they just start, you know, because I did the same thing. I was buying 2 or 3 pieces a week, and I really didn't put too much thought in it. I just, because you just wanted to own it. And then you kind of hit that point where you've run out of money, and you're like, I think I shouldn't be so spontaneous when I'm looking at this stuff and deciding to buy it. And it really is the right approch, you know, because you can never feel regret for something you like. So you can never really overpay.
That Starman 7 cover is a perfect example. You know, I bought it when I wasn't collecting comic art. I can probably get really good money for it today, but it's not for sale. I love it. Don't get me wrong. I mean, everything's for sale for the right price. Somebody wants to offer me $20,000 for that piece. It's gone. But you know, you know,
you'll make another memory somewhere
right.
else.
I'm dumb, but I'm not stupid. You know.
But no, it's very true. And you know, like Rich Danny says, never buy as an investment. That part will take care of itself. And
that's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely, Rich. Smart move.
See, I'm the type of collector that I sell very little. So I never really worry about what it's going to be worth. It's just how much I love it, right? It could be worth $10 or $10,000. It's just
my problem is that I have to buy stuff and I have to sell stuff to be able to afford it.
Buy the new stuff, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's how you know when certain collectors are getting a big piece is when they have their sales. You know, that's like I always kind of follow that. There's a couple of guys, and you know, I mean, it's probably the smart way to go, right? When you know you're going to be getting something, rather than dipping back in the bank account, go ahead and sell something. So but you always know. It's like there's a couple of guys who I know and so I know like right after their sale, within a few weeks, there's going to be a really cool piece come in their gallery.
Right.
You know,
that's cool.
I love on Cap when there's a description of like, this is my grail. Don't ask. I will never part with it. And you kind of watch that piece, you know, it just pops up on your searches, especially for me, Perez stuff. And then all of a sudden one day, for sale. And I'm like, what happened to the paragraph long of don't ask, it's never happening. And then I go, wait a second. There's a piece coming. There's a piece coming that's going to be.
That's right.
And sure enough, it always happens that way.
Yeah, there's always something better, you know, at the end of the day, you know. But yeah, I mean, I own the first piece I ever bought just because it was I could never sell it. You know, there's certain stuff like that in your collection that's probably totally worthless. Mine's totally worthless. It's like an Ian Churchill, I don't even know, Uncanny X-Men page or something like that. But
yeah, but so what? You love it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the memory of, you know, that being like my first, you know, putting my toe in the water that I'd never want to get rid of it. And so,
the memories attached to the collectibles are so important sometimes. And same thing with the friendships, you know, I think, well, look at the three of us, right? I mean, the friendships of, it's past the part of being hobbyists.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I stopped being a hobbyist today, we'd still be friends. And that's a real testament to our hobby. It's really good.
True.
I agree.
my closest friendships have come out of this hobby.
Yeah.
Yep, it's very, very true. There's still more. There's still a lot more adventures ahead of us. Well, we might be stuck in the house for now, but there's more adventures ahead.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, I mean, you're still getting out, Steve, to do your comic deals and whatnot, right? So
yeah, I had to go look at a big collection. Had 250,000 books to go look at the other day when I spoke to you. I mean, it's going to take me weeks to go through it, but a lot of books. It's good for business.
Absolutely. All right. Well, hey, listen, guys, we're at the hour-and-a-half mark.
Oh, wow.
Unless, see, I told you. Remember we were talking? I'm like, I've talked for 2 hours a few times, and because I wasn't paying attention, and then I look up and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's my bedtime. But I haven't. Nobody's been asking any other questions lately, other than Rich also agreed that he's a black hole and never sells anything either. So that's good. There's a lot of collectors like that, I have so much respect for people who can be like that, where they just were like, nope, it's mine, it's going in the collection forever, and no one's gonna see it again.
Absolutely.
That Titans page, I'm getting buried with that page. Then no one will ever own that again.
I'm gonna dig up your grave, dude.
Well, that's you got to go like Simonson, right? Where he's gonna just do the Viking funeral pyre, with all his art around him, and there's no chance in hell that you're gonna get any of that art.
I know 1 or 2 comic dealers or comic art dealers that'll actually swim out to that boat to try to save it.
yeah, fat chance, but you never know.
Yeah.
I love Walt, but yeah, it always brings a tear to my eye when I think about that, because I really his run on Thor was
unbelievable,
kind of unbelievable, and Thor was always my favorite character even before.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I had kind of you kind of like languished a bit, and then when Simonson came around, it just made me love the character 10 times more. And his storytelling, his art, I mean, he was just amazing. And if I could ever have like one piece of artwork, it would be I wouldn't need a cover. I'd be happy with an interior page to any Thor book that he did.
Yeah, when Thor 337 came out, man, it blew everybody's mind.
Yeah.
Simonson really hit it out of the ballpark.
It's the definitive Thor. Like, I don't, not to disparage anybody who's come since, because there's been some amazing creators, but nobody's hit that bar again. And
I feel the same way.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. See, so I've got that's my something that I want to get. If I ever had I don't really have like a want list, but that for me would be something that I would love to get, and I would definitely cherish and not sell, because I actually had a Simonson piece once. I had one of those. You'll Mike. It was the X-Men Teen Titans crossover.
Oh, wow!
I had a page from that, and
there's not a lot of those pages out there either. Because
I know, and I did say I had a page from.
Which page was that? I know that book like the.
For some dumb reason, I can only remember the top panel, and it was where it was it was like whatever the aliens were that they were fighting, and it was a side view of them holding like these shotguns, and it had the classic like Simonson like sun starburst around their head, and I can't remember which characters were on it. I mean, it wasn't like I know there was maybe a couple X-Men and a couple Teen Titans, but it wasn't like the feature of it.
Oh, boo-hoo.
but still, it was a Simonson X-Men Teen. I mean, I'm stupid. I traded it. I don't even know what the hell I would have traded it for. But the guy was looking through my stuff, and he was like, "I want that, and that. If you want that," and I was like, "Done. Whatever it was I wanted."
We all have done that.
Yeah. Because you're absolutely right. You don't see. I mean, there might be a couple pages on CAF, but they never come up for sale.
No.
Because Walt, if I understand correctly, Walt still has a lot of that stuff. He didn't.
Most of his stuff.
He hasn't sold a lot of the Thor stuff. He hasn't sold a lot of he hasn't sold most of his pieces, from what I understand.
Yeah, that's how it goes. Because that book I think was inked by Terry Austin, and so
Terry got some pages.
Terry's share is what's out there, but anything that went to Walt, and so that's how it is. If Walt, and when he would do all his own penciling and inking, then he got it all back, and so that's that's why the only pieces you see are those rare pieces that were inked by somebody else. So
Right.
or
Absolutely.
when,
And
on donations and stuff like that.
yeah, I've tried to get Walt to get rid of a piece for the Hero Initiative, but you know, he'd just rather do a commission. It brings in enough money.
Oh, they're bringing. Walt's
So
commission.
it's good enough. You know, Walt's been fantastic with the Hero Initiative. Unbelievable.
And he's been amazing with the charity auction too.
That's right, New York City too.
And he donated a piece. He donated a piece for the virtual auction that went for over $4,000. So
yeah,
right.
He's fantastic. Very nice guy. Him and Wheezy are just sweet people.
Yeah. He said I have spoken to him about this. He says there are a couple of pieces that he's put out into the wind, as it were, but he's traded it for pieces that he wanted. I kind of remember him saying something about a Frazetta piece that he traded some of his artwork for and things like that. I could forgive me if I'm telling the story wrong, Walt, but for the most part, he's kept it all, which is incredible.
Yeah. God bless him. He deserves it.
He does. There's not many people like him in the industry. Him, George, like they're true legends, but they're also some of the
great people.
Yeah, some of the most amazing people. Weasley, incredible.
All right, guys. Well, listen, I'm gonna call it a wrap tonight. We could do this again another time.
I mean, sure. Anytime you want me back, if your fans aren't bored with me, I'll be more than happy to come back.
Yes, exactly.
Anytime.
All right, Mike. Yeah, and if there's anything I can ever promote for both of you guys, just let me know.
All right. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for promoting the virtual charity auction. It meant a lot.
And thanks for promoting Hero Initiative, St. Jude's, everything.
Yeah,
you know,
I'm here. I'm at your disposal whenever you need help. You know that. So
appreciate it.
I'm happy to do it. So thanks everybody for joining in. And hey, hang out for a few minutes, guys, in the green room while I close things out. And